What's up, Blizzard Nation? Welcome back to Strictly Blizzness, episode 138. Huge thank you to Creative Edge and Edge VR for making Strictly Blizzness possible. We have a guest, which we're going to get to right off the bat.
Right out of the gate.
But we did like 9 minutes of editing last episode, so right off the bat, we're a playoff team, and we don't need to edit this time, so...
Okay, so go back and look at the previous episode, and you'll see there's kind of this moment where all of a sudden I take a breath and I look at Ryan, and then we start talking. Yeah, that's because we cut out the entire beginning stating that we were a playoff team and how excited we were and blah, 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 only to find out afterwards.
I watched the same episode for 45 minutes to get all the timestamps for Sean.
So what happened was we had decided before the show, we had clinched the playoffs spot, and I even called Todd and said, Todd, is it official? Yep. Congrats, you guys are in. We're going to be announcing it momentarily. So we get done with the show, and then I get a phone call from Ryan saying, just so you know, Nappy and Ben took a look at it, and we didn't clinch
The math isn't there.
Yep. So then we called Todd and said, Todd, we're not in.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, great. Anyway.
Yep.
So if you look at the beginning of that episode, it is a little choppy, but I think it was a great job of editing because no one knew.
Sean, you're amazing. So
yeah, Sean, that was very good job.
Yep.
Very good work.
So right off the bat, before we get into all that awesomeness and the recap, we have a guest, which I will let Kathy.
No, you're going to introduce.
Oh, okay.
Because you made this happen. So
well, I'm gonna let him introduce himself because I called him the wrong name 6 times on game day. So
what'd you call him?
Hey, I'll go by anything.
Chase,
Hey,
John, AJ. I called them all the 3 people from Operation Song.
Hey, I'm just the guy.
The guy from Operation Song is here.
Yeah.
We'll give Blizzard Nation a quick backstory. So our good friends at Desert Vets of Wisconsin have done some work with Operation Song, and so we were looking for Block Party halftime, and AJ really did everything on game day between Block Party National Anthem and halftime. Brian and Mark Bonovitz from Desert Vets had said, hey, you should call these guys, and I did, and I don't regret it. I don't think Blizzard Nation regrets it. I think the highlight is singing the sing-along song, but we'll let... why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll learn a little bit about what you do and
because now I'm worried
why you
I was
said
calling
yes.
him the wrong name.
No, I got her gun shy. Watch this. It's Chase.
It's not. Yeah. Our goal was certainly to not be regretted. So we're grateful for that.
It's John.
Yeah, my name is John. I'm CEO of Operation Song, based out of Nashville, and we travel the country serving veterans and their families through the power of songwriting. Our founder, Bob Regan, started this organization in 2012 with the intent of being able to document and tell veterans' stories and serving them through the power of songwriting. It's a very therapeutic and cathartic experience, and we've been writing with the Desert Vets for a couple of years, veterans out of Green Bay for a couple of years, and so the connection with you all was really cool because our vision is to serve every veteran and their family through the power of songwriting, and then to educate every American on their story. And we don't want to live in a nation where we no longer care about our military and veterans. And we have the platform of being able to share those stories through the process of songwriting, which is awesome because it tends to be a platform that people are already used to listening to stories.
Absolutely.
And now we're just filling those stories with the sacrifices of veterans and their families. Very similar to Mark's story, right? Which is titled Welcome Home, which is, of course, is a really powerful sentiment for Vietnam era veterans who didn't get a welcome home, many of which, famously were spit on when they got home from combat. And so that's a really beautiful story, and that's a little bit of Operation Song. So grateful to be there. I'm glad AJ knocked it out of the park. And he sang, of course, one of his own original songs with Mark from Desert Vets last year. And then, John Denver, of course, is always a good.
People were getting into the John Denver tune. Yeah. I was a little worried that the young kids wouldn't know, but I'm always amazed by our crowds as to what lyrics the kids know, and they knew that. So
people get down on TikTok sometimes, but TikTok is great about merging generational music. And there's a lot of kids that know songs that I wouldn't think. It's like, oh, that's a TikTok song. I'm like, well, at least you know it, I guess.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's not a TikTok song. Like, it's been around
Yeah.
since 70, right?
Right.
But they know it, and that's really cool. They don't know where it's from. They might not know who it is, but they know it, right?
But that just shows
They're like,
the power
who's
of
John?
song.
Why does he live in
Absolutely.
Denver? Like-
Yeah, right?
Was he from Colorado?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it does show the power of song and the power of music. And Ryan and I both are very, very big musical. Well, he's more inclined to play. He still plays. I used to play. But music has been a very formidable, I mean, it's just a big part of my background. So I'm really excited to have you here and that you're working with veterans to do what you do. I think that is just so special. And the songs that you guys have done, I mean, where can people find them? I mean, I get that they're personal stories and they're a personal, like you said, it's a therapy of sort for themselves, their family. Some of these people may have passed that the song is actually about, so it's actually serving their next generation. Where can people find examples of your music?
The easiest place is probably our own app. It's interesting for us because unlike most artists that might only put out a handful of songs a year, we write almost 200 songs a year. And so our goal is to be able to share those songs with the entire country, and most importantly, be able to share it with the veteran and their family. Very often, veterans will put something in a song that they won't tell their family. So that song can often be a way of sharing the veteran story with their own loved ones in a way that they really haven't been able to find, maybe since they came back from combat or since they left the military, or in many instances since they lost their loved one, because we write with a lot of Gold Star family members, and those stories are incredibly powerful as well too. So we actually have our own app, which is in the App Store, right? So wherever you download apps, the Google Play, iTunes Store, you can just type in Operation Song, and we have all of our music for free, and you can listen to those. You can also watch a bunch of videos on there as well too. That and our YouTube page, you could just search Operation Song in either of those pages, and that's a great place to listen to our music. We of course have some songs on Spotify and iTunes, but it can be a little more challenging to get completely mastered songs up on those platforms, especially if you're doing 200 a year.
Sure,
Because
absolutely.
we just don't right now have the budget to cut all 200 of those songs professionally. Many of the songs that we give to veterans and their families are work tapes, which are professionally created by professional singer-songwriters, but they don't have that full studio production behind them. And so we don't always post all of them on iTunes or Google Music.
So how do you go about getting people to donate? I mean, because I would think that anybody that's pro-military, I mean, there's so many organizations out there now that are trying their best to, get veterans back in the spotlight.
Yeah.
They, World War I and II, they were the focus of our nation. And you're right, with Vietnam, we took a horrible turn. My dad served in Nam, so know full well of when coming home, it was kind of, you didn't talk about it anymore. You didn't say you were there. It was frowned upon. And society today, I think, is I wouldn't say anti-military, but they don't understand the necessity for it. And, we're all about how we feel these days instead of the actual things that have to happen to make us be free to be able to feel. So how do you go about raising funds for Operation Song?
A lot of our fundraising right now is very event heavy, which makes sense, right? Because we are both a veterans nonprofit and a music organization. And so, for instance, we have an event every year here in October. This year, it'll be October 3rd at the Epic Center, partnered with Desert Vets and some of our community partners that donate in order to make that event possible. And then ticket sales go towards the program here for Wisconsin veterans as well too. But a lot of it is just good old fashioned grind, like any business, right?
Yeah,
It's grind and hustle in order to ensure that you stay top of mind for people, because it is an absolutely beautiful mission and vision, and people do want to support veterans in the arts and their process of storytelling and songwriting. But sometimes it can be challenging to stay relevant and top of mind, because there are a lot of veterans nonprofits that are constantly competing for individual families' dollars, right? Whether it's $5 or $500,000, right?
Right.
It's challenging to continue to stay relevant in that landscape where there are so many veterans needs, and largely there's always another veteran in line, which is a challenge. A lot of people don't realize there's almost 18 million veterans in the country, but only about 9 of them are even eligible to go to the Department of Veterans Affairs. And so you generally on any given day have about half the veterans in the entire country that have less resources or services than they probably should. And the Department of Veterans Affairs has gotten a lot better over the last 20 years at kind of bridging the gap between resources and veterans. But it's veterans nonprofits like the Desert Vets, like Operation Song, that help uphold that promise. And it's my job as the CEO of Operation Song, along with our team, to try and figure out how to turn that promise into services that veterans need and a program that America is willing to support financially. So it's like it's a lot of
juggling.
positioning.
Yeah, a lot of juggling there. So tell us about, because you mentioned it already and we talked about it before the game. What happens in October? What is that event that you're having at Epic in October?
Yeah. So that will be our Green Bay retreat, in which we'll bring Nashville hit songwriters up to Green Bay. On the 2nd, we will write with veterans or their family members through a 4 or 5 hour retreat format where we put a veteran or a veteran's family member and a professional songwriter in a room, and we check on them 5 hours later and hope they have a demo done. And it's an incredibly powerful process because it can be a little intimidating at first, right? You sit a veteran across from someone they don't know, but songwriters are incredibly good storytellers. They're also really good listeners. And so they aren't therapists, so we often don't call it a music therapy program. It's just a professional songwriter in a room trying to capture a story from a veteran who often has a million to tell. And at the end of that 5 hour session, they'll typically have a work tape done, a song ready, and we'll basically reset for the night. And then the next night, we'll host an entire fundraising event around those songs.
So anybody can come to those?
Absolutely.
On the 3rd?
Yep.
Okay.
And we are actually still looking for veterans to write with in October. And so if you're a veteran or their family member and you'd like to write a song with a professional hit Nashville songwriter and then stand on stage the next night at the Epic Center
wait a minute.
and have 400 people listen to your story, then we would love to hear from you. And thankfully, the Desert Vets has been a huge part of helping us connect with veterans here in Green Bay over the past few years. And that'll likely be true again this year. And so, yeah, that format is beautiful because it's serving veterans one day and then educating America the next day about those stories.
Fantastic.
And last year, we were fortunate to have the lead singer of Creed, Scott Stapp, headline that event for us.
Oh, wow.
This year, we have a local veteran family member, singer-songwriter by the name of Jesse G, who's going to be a part of our event, along with a beautiful lineup of singer-songwriters that are going to come as for the retreat portion. And so, yeah, it'll be an awesome night. A beautiful night to really relish and be a part of the military and veterans community here in Green Bay and celebrate their service and sacrifice and also remember. So it's always a kind of a balance there.
So would you run a second retreat in Green Bay if schedule allowed?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Our goal is to serve every veteran. And that's
wheels aren't turning, disregard.
Yeah, sorry.
And that's the ambitious part is that, you know, in order to fulfill our vision, we would have to write 18 million songs. And to date, we've written about 18.
Challenge accepted.
and so, but it's lofty, but it's what we really need to do because our goal should be to memorialize and remember every veteran's sacrifice and then give them the process of songwriting because we know how powerful and therapeutic it can be. For many veterans, it can be life-saving.
Absolutely.
And then we want to ensure that every American understands that service and sacrifice. A lot of people, I joke with some people, right? Like, how many people enlisted in the Army because of Toby Keith's American Soldier, right? Like and that wasn't one of our songs, notably, but stories, when put into a song, have an incredible impact on an individual.
Absolutely.
And they can drive action. And so for us, we want to be able to drive action within veterans and their families by giving them that experience and then drive action within America by exposing them to that story and hope that they can continue to support veterans. So, you know, one day, you know, the military appreciation night, maybe it's not already your biggest game, but through the process of storytelling, it could or it can always be the
That's
biggest
where my
and
wheels.
most
that's where
That's
he's
where my
going.
wheels
Don't-
are now.
yeah,
We're done.
Don't be
we
mistaken.
we are. I like slept 3 hours on Saturday, and I had to get up at 5 a.m. to play guitar on Sunday because playoffs and blah blah blah. My head just doesn't shut off, and I don't know what it is. It might be a problem. But, and it's not Kathy's doing. That is a Hobson problem.
Right.
I want to make sure anybody sees me like have a mental breakdown once a year on social media. It's not them. I have a problem, but I'm already working on
We
it.
need
Like we
music
are
therapy
literally
for
already
Ryan.
working on military night.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we'll be a part of it every
Cool.
single time we get an invite.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
we will walk here if we have to.
have you had a song
Cool.
written
Well,
about your
start walking.
experience?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And-
what branch did you serve in?
I was in the Army from 2012 to 2018.
Okay.
And I'm one of the weird people that got medically separated. At the age of 27, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And turns out you cannot fly helicopters if you have type 1 diabetes. They don't even let you stay in the Army.
man, I'm working on another game that's
So,
relevant to you too. Then
Yeah.
That would be a big one in
Alright.
Green Bay.
already working on it.
Yeah.
Otis Day, Ben in our office are type 1.
Yeah.
We
I
have
will
the
not
employees
unpack
at
that
Trinks.
yet,
Diabetes
but I'm already
awareness.
working
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that game. So
Yeah.
there's a 2025 spoiler as I don't even know what's going on in this episode.
Love to be a
hit
part
him
of
with
that
it.
one as well too. Yeah, and so the only two things I had done by the age of 27 were lead troops in combat and fly helicopters, and I couldn't do either of those two things, right? So that's kind of how I find myself in the veterans community because I was literally just thrust into it, right? One day I'm a combat aviator ready to deploy, and the next I'm basically on the street looking for a new life. And so I understand the plight of the military veteran and veteran family because that transition can be really, really hectic, right?
Yeah.
You dedicate your entire life to that flag, and then you don't get to wear that flag anymore. And sometimes it hits you over the course of a day.
Well, and even the ones that are going in just for 4 years to then have schooling paid for or what have you, even them coming back and transitioning in, their way of life is totally different. So it's difficult no matter if you've been a lifelong or just a short term.
Yeah.
It's definitely a break in your reality, if you will, to come back home.
And that's one of the beauties of the songwriting process is that it can often give you a platform to kind of digest and process some of those experiences. So we have a lot of veterans that we could tell really haven't thought about some of these things for years, and it's just kind of sitting in the background
Mhm.
and getting to process and work through the process of songwriting. You get to basically assimilate, your reality with your past, and that can be really powerful for a lot of veterans. So yeah, I'm excited
Awesome.
to showcase some of those songs next year. In fact, if you'd let us songs that we write this year, we could perform next year at the game.
I think that'd be fantastic.
You are not welcome back.
All right. Well, thank you, John, so much for coming onto the show and telling us about Operation Song. I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll have it tagged in the episode and share it with you so that
Yep.
you have it. We were honored to have you as part of our celebration. I'm going to try not to get choked up. It was very special to watch Mark see his song performed because I was standing right next to him.
Yeah.
And his tears were definitely real. And then he shared with me, especially with it being Father's Day weekend and both of us not having our dads here. And as a result of Vietnam and Agent Orange, we share that, he and I do. So it was very therapeutic for both of us. So I thank you for being a part of that day and that game.
Thank you all. Yeah. And thanks for everyone who came and cheered. We had some pretty loud cheers, a lot of high fives as we left that tunnel, and so super grateful for the experience. And anyone listening, we'd love if you checked us out, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever platform you're on. I guess it's X now.
Yeah.
I got to get better at
Yeah, you
that. So,
People still call it Twitter. I
Yeah.
hear it all the
I
time.
have
Like,
young
get on
interns,
it. Get
so
on
I don't
Twitter.
do anything with
whatever
that.
platform you're on, we'd love a like, we'd love a follow. Just stay tuned with the message and vision that we have and help however you can. For people out there that already give annually to a nonprofit, we'd love to be that nonprofit this year. $5 or $500, whatever you can
Or
afford.
500,000, I
Yeah,
heard. So.
Winning.
Every single dollar goes to support veterans and their families in the songwriting
Awesome.
process, and we'd love any support that y'all can give. Thank you.
Excellent.
And just like on military night, we have a transformer in the building. Got it.
You know what, though?
Yeah.
I'm going to say something. So when I was outside talking to John,
Yeah.
and he had his sunglasses on, and I'm like, you look like Joey Bonadonna. And I even said that to Kate after. I'm like, I'm not kidding you. This guy, he's taller than Joey. He's a little broader than Joey, but he could be Joey. So, yeah, here we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not a different person.
Yeah.
Joey Bonadonna's in the building.
The one and only, our guy, our stats guy, the kid when he was, what was it, 13? Were you 12? Were you 13? 14?
I was in 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, 7th or 8th grade. This is the story of Joey.
7th. It was 7th grade.
It was 7th grade. Joey and his friend Sam, who's now our equipment manager, had started posting stuff. Ryan, do you remember that?
Yeah, I still have to discipline them both on separate occasions occasionally. Like, hey, don't tell a sponsor their sign needs to move when you're commentating.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Or
that.
don't
Friendly
post that we
remind
made
Sam,
the playoffs.
Get the bananas out of the locker room and don't post about playoffs. Yes.
So these two
Now we're
kids,
love.
Now we're
Out of
clenched.
love and respect.
Yes.
Yes.
these two kids at that time were posting stuff as though they were part of our organization. So I had to call his mom. We all love Kelly and let her know
Shout out
what her
Kelly.
son was doing. Shout out to Kelly. And now he's part of our organization. If you don't recognize his voice, you should. Or if you're wondering, where have I heard him before? It's on our broadcast. So Joey is our, sometimes when he's by himself, he's color as well as calling the game. But this year you've had multiple color commentators.
Sam's one of them.
Okay.
Sam's one of them. Cole, who's now head of our stats crew, he was my color guy last year, and now we've got Casey Hibbard was my color guy this year. So, yeah, good little rotation there, guys that are all around. Yeah.
We're here. We called you in because there was such chaos last time.
Oh yeah,
We thought we were in, then we weren't in, but now we're actually in.
we are in.
Okay. So we are the first team in the IFL for this season to clinch.
And only for this, at least this past week. And as of right now, we're the only team that has clinched their playoff spot so far as of week 14 going into week 15. So
Okay.
it's a nice thing to
Okay,
have.
so I have in front of me the stuff from the IFL. It's got a lot of red line throughs on it.
That's why I shredded it right away.
yeah.
Everybody thought it was funny 2 episodes ago. Like, I just shredded the tiebreakers.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, holy cats, how do you keep track of all of this? I mean, people,
Advanced
this is what it looks
trigonometry.
like. It's like,
Uh-huh.
woo. Anyway, trigonometry would be a great way. Calculus, carry the 4.
Not geometry.
Yeah. No, that's that's for on the field if you're trying to do something. Trajectories, things like that. So we brought in Joey because Joey has to prepare every week for a game. Plus, he loves doing this stuff. So we wanted him to come in and talk about all of the scenarios that we know now and then what it means if we ask him various questions. So let's recap the game, though.
Yeah.
The game itself was a good game. When it first started out, Jacksonville was, when they were in the other league, they did well. They were
They're a championship organization. yeah.
absolutely, and they still are. I think they're still getting acclimated to our way of playing, to the game itself, and to these new teams. We're all just a little bit different.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Gibson before the game from Jacksonville, and he said, if you take an arena team and put them in indoor, it's going to be an adjustment. If you take an indoor team and put them in arena, it's going to be an adjustment. I 100% agree with that. I think that, they're like we said, they're a championship team. They won championship last year. They won championships years before. And yeah, now making the transition to the IFL, different rules, but I think that they're going to be a really fun team to have in the league. For years coming, and we're still going to see them again in the next few weeks. So
Absolutely. I'm actually going down. I let Coach Gibson know I'm going to be in his house in July, and I'm looking forward to that. That organization was probably one of the most exciting announcements for me personally, not just because Disney's in Florida. I mean, that is a great plus because
Whatever.
anytime I go there.
I usually don't take shots at you on this episode, but that's a lie.
No, it's not the only. It's a big reason.
Trivia, Blizzard Nation. Where is Disney located? You got 2 of them.
Where am I usually? Florida. Yeah. But they are a great, the ownership group is fantastic. Coach Gibson is a very level-headed. He's not a, ego guy, as sometimes coaches can be. So I'm just really happy to have them as part of the league. They're going to, as you said, be a great addition to the league. The game started out as though it was going to be score for score. There were a lot of different things that were happening, and then Sean Steele appeared out of nowhere a few times.
Yeah.
Did some crazy one-handed stuff.
Well,
Vi was another one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with this team, you can kind of start off going. I think the Iowa game a few weeks ago on the road, that was another one of those games where it felt like it was going to go, drive for drive, score for score, and then when you have the number one defense in the league, they're going to figure things out at some point in the second half, and that's what's kind of gone on over the last few weeks, and that's pretty nice to have. Vi is. If he's not Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know who is.
Yeah.
He's been on an incredible run. I think that one-handed pick that he had was Play of the Year. So I think that this is a really fun defense to have, and the offense they've been clicking on top of that as well. They're scoring at over 50 in 4 of their last 5 games. So that is again another nice thing to have. A nice marriage of offense and defense usually will win you some football games.
So, and this is for all of you fans out there that hated the vet rule. Joey, how many vets do we have on our team?
Not a lot. I don't think we have any.
We have 0.
Yeah.
We have 0. That was how I do things. Just kind of, yeah. There's 0 vets on our team. So shout out to our coaching staff as well as to these players for knowing the game, getting to know each other, working together as a team.
Yeah.
So you're here to talk playoffs. We've already said we've clinched a home game. Or no, we've just clinched being in. Now we're looking to have a home game. And if we had a home game, Ryan, when would that be?
July 26th, 7 p.m. Friday night.
In order for us to clinch that game at home, what has to happen?
Win one game.
We just have to win one game.
One game. Or Massachusetts lose one, but preferably win.
We want to win one.
One game.
So we've been using the one more for the season now. That's been the mantra. So truly one more game gets us that home playoff.
Yep.
So that could happen this weekend.
Yes. So at Quad City, an opportunity to finish off their regular season sweep. This is a team that we might still see in the playoffs. So it's going to be an exciting one. Always, respect for Quad City.
Absolutely.
But, every time, once you're in between those whistles, you want to beat Quad City. And this is going to be no different, absolutely, on the road down in Moline. Should be a fun one. But, yes, that is the one on Saturday night that can clinch it. And that'll be a home playoff game. I'm looking at it now. We can have no lower than the 3 seed. So there's one thing to keep in mind, but with one win, it is either 1 seed or 2 seed.
So that being said, there is this weird multiverse situation where we could not host the first game, but host the second game based on what you just said there.
So
1 and 2 loses, 3 hosts the next game.
It very well could be.
Which won't happen. We're going to host. We're saying.
But it's real.
There was a weird multiverse situation. There was a weird multiverse situation going into last week where that's why we hadn't clinched yet, because there would have been, with the conference record being the number 1 tiebreaker, there would have been a situation where we could have finished 9-7 and Iowa could have finished 9-7. But despite us beating Iowa 3 out of 3 games this season, they would have the better conference record, which would lead to them getting in over us.
Explain that to your fans.
Right.
You go into the playoffs, you sweep them, but they end up a higher seed than you.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. But that's how these things work, and that's why we have you on here to talk about it. So let's talk about, home field advantage then in the playoffs. So let's say, and I'm moving ahead, and I'm not, this isn't a when it happens, this is a if, because we're here to talk scenarios. If we win that first game at home as a playoff, then it's up to what? Then we
Right.
don't get the second playoff
So
at home.
basically 4 more games left. The magic number to get the number 1 seed right now would be the only other team really in contention for the number 1 seed is Frisco. Frisco is sitting at 9-3. They won last week against Tucson. That was a close game going into the fourth quarter.
I really thought that
Yeah.
Tucson was going to pull that one off.
This was a great. I mean, everything that happened this week, pretty much outside of Frisco, ended up beating Tucson, ended up being in our favor. Massachusetts losing to San Antonio, Quad City losing to Iowa. So there was an interesting week for sure in the IFL. But yeah, Frisco right now is the only other team in the Eastern Conference that's really in contention, in the thick of the race for the number 1 seed. Crazier things could happen, but that's the battle that we're in right now. So the magic number is 3. So basically win 3 out of 4, Green Bay is the number 1 seed. That's the main thing we got to take a look at. If we win 2 out of 4, Frisco has to lose 1 of their next 4, and all the way down the line. So that is what we're looking at. But yeah, the main thing is just win 3 more, number 1 seed. We can host the first round and then the Eastern Conference Championship.
Okay, and let's talk about what that first seed overall means. So, huge upset over the weekend. Bay Area lost to San Diego, which that helps us as well when we talk about overall.
Right. So the IFL so the overall number 1 seed, it's not like the Super Bowl where in the NFL you got the NFC team that's the number 1 seed, and then you have the AFC is the number 1 seed the next year, and then it flips. It's a matter of who's the best team coming into that game, who has the better record. They are going to be able to be the home team for that game. That would give better locker room, choice of field, choice to wear what uniforms you want, dark uniforms or right now we've been running with the white uniforms the last few
so
weeks.
So we'll go with a away jersey anyway.
So. We might do that anyways, but so there's certain advantages with that, and the team that we are fighting for with that right now is Bay Area, and now they have 5 more games, we have 4 more games, but as of right now, as we sit, we have the best record in the league. So if the season ended today, we would be the number 1 seed in the East, and we'd be the number 1 overall seed in the IFL. So,
and I think really the only difference is they're playing 4th of July weekend and we are not. That's how they get that other game back.
Yeah, they have already had, I think they had their bye, week 12 here recently. But yeah, they got at Duke City, at Vegas, Northern Arizona that 4th of July weekend, Duke City again, and then at San Diego to finish. So this team they just lost to at home. Now they got to go on the road there in the last week of the regular season and try to clinch things up from there. But the Western Conference has been everything's far from over on that side of things.
Even our conference, we don't know how that's going to shake out. I mean, if Jacksonville gets some legs, I mean, Iowa
everything's
won
possible.
over Quad
There have been
Cities.
no elimination scenarios.
Right.
I mean, over the last few weeks, and yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. And I think everything, especially pushing for those 4 seeds, are going to be massive in both conferences.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting.
It'll come down to that last game, much like it did for us last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of our last games where
in the last two weeks. Yeah.
So
last year was, I did something similar last year. I think going into the last 4 weeks of the season, there were multiple scenarios where we could finish up with a home game, getting the number 2 seed, or being out of the playoffs. And last year we were on this side of the spectrum. But now this year we're looking at those home field advantage situations, and that's what happens when you're up to 10-2, first double-digit win season since 2012. So it's been a good year, but it's far from over.
It is far from over. As far as best season goes, where are we on record with that for the IFL in our history?
I think the most wins we've had in a season was 13.
Yeah, for
2011
people
or
have
something like that.
something. We
Yeah.
need one or two more to clip our best season ever if the form
Yeah.
is right, which they usually are.
I
as
think
much
Yeah,
as
those are
13,
some
yeah.
diehard
13 would be
fans.
the record. So there's your 3 out of 4. If we
Yeah.
win, we go 13-3. I think that's your best regular season record. And now it clinched number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, best record in franchise history. And now this week we have an opportunity to make history as well. Blizzard have never won 7 games in a row, and we're on a 6-game win streak. So if they're able to knock off Quad City, that'd be 7 wins in a row, and that's something that has never been done in franchise history. So there's another thing. There's so many. It feels like every week there's some record that can be broken. I think there's your look at one more. What can we do this week to make history? And I think every week's been something fun to keep an eye on for sure.
Well, and as the coaches are talking, I know already this week, it's all about this game.
Mhm.
We're not looking anywhere into the future. We're not worried about records. We need to win this game. So we have to go in up against the other Corey in the league. So it's the Corey squared on the field.
Mhm.
I mean, because Corey's a great coach as well. That's a good team. And you're right. We will see them in the playoffs, I feel. And we just have to get another one more, which is one more win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this week at Quad City on the road, 4 games out of 5 on the road, and then if you win at least one of those, we'll be back at home in July.
So let's talk about that just a little bit, Ryan.
I blacked out. That was so
Too much math for
football and math.
See, I'm not even a math.
I'm tracking.
Yeah.
I'm tracking, but
As
I
soon as
literally blacked out.
As
so.
soon as football's involved, I'm not even a math guy.
You
but as soon as
were on
football's
to your
involved,
next meeting. You
Joey,
were...
just tell me when I got a plan for the home game, okay?
I'll let
Thanks.
you know. I'll shoot you a text.
But let's talk about a home playoff game.
Yeah.
We've said it on this show several times. You can't use your flex plan. You don't have a season ticket anymore. So when those tickets go on sale, you got to get them because your seat's not held for you, kind of thing. What about your parking pass?
Pretty sure
That's just regular.
Pretty sure you're cut. If you choose to go, we'll talk about season ticket first. So you nailed flex plan. That one's easy. They're not honored, and we made that clear going into this last game. So flex plan and season ticket holders, just watch for communication from NAP because you will get early access to whatever flash sale and the most aggressive pricing we would do on the flash sale because that's just part of being a season ticket holder. Season ticket holders, you will have you get your seat. You just got to buy it if you want to come.
So you get the option.
You do. So yeah, you'll get that communication soon. PMI has been awesome, and I have 6 PMI meetings today. One of which is we have a fake game built so we can go put the season ticket holds in. So they're in the system. Your seat is held. You just got to get back to NAP once we work on that timing to get your season ticket. But you do have first right of refusal. That is the industry term to keep your season ticket for the playoffs. And then
we'll give them probably just a couple of days. So it's not like you're going to have weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on the timing here, right? Like, We'll get on sale as soon as we clinch, and then we'll work out what type of promotions and sale prices we're doing after or leading up to. That's what we're working on this week. But yeah, watch for that because we'll get that out there right away. Corporate groups and partners and stuff, same thing. I am through the letter C this morning because I'm sending individual emails because I need you to reply if you want your tickets or not, or if you want to buy a block of tickets for employees in your building. We'll reach out to all of our nonprofits. Speaking without asking, right? Our goal is 8,000 people in this building, not necessarily to print money. We never want to lose money, but like this is a season like
deal.
We've never been a part of here, right? And I always hear stories, and it was a championship run for the Gamblers, but like of the Clark Cup when there was 8,000 people in there for a championship game, like the goal is some pretty aggressive offers, get your seat now, and work with all the groups we work with and provide an environment where we don't lose either of those games. We lost one at home to start the season and almost didn't lose it. So
yeah, shouldn't
we have
have.
a pretty good home field advantage for our guys.
Yeah.
So we're working on all of that. But to answer Kathy's question, flex and season, you'll see that come from NAP corporate. that's all coming from me. And then the general public stuff, we're working with Edge VR and Creative Edge to work on the ads and get the offers up and all that stuff.
So if we win this weekend, when we talk Blizzness next week, that stuff would be ready to go.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. So, yeah, at least the first part of it, right? And that's why when we were talking off air about the sale, we'll do, like, I think it'll be the first version of it so we can at least get an offer out. And if you have to have a ticket and you want that particular seat, you should buy then and not wait for what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So, but we want what happens to be so aggressive that you have no excuse not to come to that game Friday night on July 26th. So, yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to say about the game that we just played, other than they did a great job?
I'm going to be aggressive here.
Okay.
Not only should Vi be defensive play, I am going to emphasize this because I will be upset if it does not happen.
Yeah, Vi's had a great. He's between his mom having the big,
The
huge
big-
cut out of his head.
yeah.
And she was down in like the second row this time, so it was like,
Yeah.
I love it, but you can't block everybody else's view.
But either defensive player of the year for sure. One of our coaches this week, I won't say who, said, I think we need to start talking about MVP. So, I don't know. Whoever makes those decisions, take that into consideration.
There are, when we talk about players, this season is one of those years. And again, we have a lot of rookies. We have a lot of second-year players. And I think a couple of third year as well. So they're all, for the most part, newer to the game. We definitely have people that have come to our team this year that are worthy of playing across the street. We definitely have that type of
I think
athleticism.
Vi, Sean, Mevis coming on mid-year has been massive. There's so many other guys.
Mustin.
Yeah.
Wilkinson.
Yeah, Julius coming in now mid-year, manning that linebacker spot's been big. Rafiq's been big. Not only, Max, having him around, we talk about the story of Max and being a Wisconsin kid, being a championship quarterback at Whitewater, and then getting a chance to play here. And now this is his team this year, and he's been on fire. I think he only had 4 incomplete passes last week. Yeah. So, it has been efficient on both sides of the ball, and it is all 3 aspects of the game if you include special teams. And it's been fun. It's been really fun to watch.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else, Ryan? I know you're sleeping over there, but
I'm not. Just
you got a lot going on.
Out what?
So this is the behind the scenes show. So you can imagine with all of these scenarios that Joey's talking about and that we've been experiencing.
Make it easy. Just win one game.
One game and you're off to the races, Ryan.
Yep.
But Ryan's got a lot of stuff that has to get ironed out. There's a lot of things that have to get put in motion.
It's awesome, and it doesn't help that you have every news station in the city emailing you over the weekend. When's practice?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because now we matter.
Corey,
so thank you, Green Bay.
Shots fired, and it wasn't me. It was me off air. Kathy took that one on air.
I'm going to say it as it is.
I will say, Burke Griffin, you're not in that bucket.
Burke,
Thank
you've
you.
always been a great resource for us and cover us. But, I get it. Television's fickle.
Pretty sure it aired over the weekend, too. And if Ben hasn't grabbed it already, there's a great story out with Romeo Dobbs and Ballard as well. Yeah. Yep. So those guys know each other. So, yep.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, what we'd love is some NFL exposure.
Yeah.
Anywhere, would be great to give these guys the credence that they deserve because they're playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to the team. All right. Now comes that tricky time. Is he doing?
Yeah.
He doing
I'll
this?
just go with that.
Oh, we don't do knuckles.
We don't do knuckles.
What?
You're just going.
Yeah.
You're just going.
I guess we can.
You can do it that way. You can do it that way, or you can do it.
Sean's like, get it right. I got places to be.
I gotta go.
All
right. This was a long episode. We apologize, but there was a lot to cover.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Should we hit him with it?
Let's hit him with it.
Go Liz.
Don't forget to like, follow,
subscribe,
share,
and ring that notification bell to get all of our content in your inbox.